Been cast, and the voice of the majority has spoken for Timothy Donnell Brown of Dallas, Texas, and the University of Notre Dame, the winner of the 53rd Heisman Trophy Award.
Another edition of the new ND Nation Radio.
We're going inside them. We're going outside them. Inside them and outside them. And when we get them on the run once, we're going to keep them on the run.
As number one goes down, Syracuse undefeated no more.
This is now top-notch college hockey.
Everything here at Notre Dame has been done on faith and a commitment to excellence. You are Notre Dame. You are special.
York County broke free at the 30, 35, 40. The Rocket is going to do it again.
And you're also going to walk out of here with a degree from the University of Notre Dame. In this lifetime, you don't have to prove nothing to nobody except yourself.
You know, this play like a champion sign, Rocket Ishmael's touched many times. Jerome Bettis has touched many times. You know, the best stadium you play in, I'm going to say Notre Dame.
We're going to get them on the run. We're going to go, 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 go. And we aren't going to stop until we go to that goal line. Don't forget, man, today's the day we're going to win.
Hello?
Hi, Tim.
Yes.
Welcome to the new ND Nation Radio. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, brother, how are you?
Good, man. It's an honor to have you on the show, man. It's the first time I ever got to talk to a Heisman Trophy winner.
Hey, let me move. Hold on one second. I'm going to go to my office, okay?
Yeah,
hold on one second.
Let me know when you're ready.
A lot of anticipation here.
Yeah.
I think we can hold for a Heisman.
If anybody listening doesn't know who Tim Brown is, then you may be in the wrong place.
All righty.
You ready to go, man?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, I will go ahead and start the interview with you. First off, like I said, thank you for joining us. It's a true honor to have you on. I've watched you play football pretty much my whole life, so it's a true honor to talk with you.
I appreciate that, bro.
But first question I have is actually about your time at Notre Dame. Recently, I mean, forever you were known statistically as the greatest Notre Dame wide receiver, still, in my opinion, the most talented. But how do you feel about your records recently being smashed by one Michael Floyd?
You know, it's a totally different era now. I mean, you look at the way they're playing football today compared to what we were doing back in those days. It's just totally different. Even though when Lou came in, we tried to throw the ball more and tried to be more up the field with the ball. But I really only had 1 year of that with Lou because the next year we went to the wishbone because Berline left. So, you know, Michael's had 4 years to pretty much in, you know, passing offenses, you know, all 4 years, even though it was different coaches. But I'm happy for the young man. He's done a great job, you know, staying healthy as much as he possibly could. I mean, I know he missed some games because of his shoulder, but it's just good to see him do well, and I'm hoping he even does better at the next level.
Going back to your Heisman year at Notre Dame, I mean, obviously you were the clear-cut big name there. When did it start feeling like for you had a shot at the Heisman? Was it a certain game? Was it a certain week in the year? Or was it just you felt like you had that momentum going all season, and at some point you just figured you were going to win it?
No, you know, I don't think I ever allowed myself to think that way. And, you know, there was so much pressure on that season for us because, you know, we started out the year 8-1, and, you know, so we still had a shot at the national championship game up until the last seconds of the Penn State game when we decided to go for 2 instead of going for the tie. You know, we didn't think going for the tie we would have a chance at the national championship, so we went for 2. So for me, that was much more important than, you know, the Heisman because I had never – that was the first year I've ever had a winning season playing football. You know, maybe in the 7th grade I think we may have gone 5-2, but after that, my 8th grade year and all 4 years in high school, I mean, my 3 years on varsity, we won 4 games. We were 4-25-1. So my first 2 years at Notre Dame, we were 5-6, and I think we were may have been 6-5 with Lou's first year. I'm not even for sure about that, but But this was, really my first chance at a real winning season and playing good football. And people, we're in the top 15, top 10 throughout the year. So I was much more excited about that, But going into the Miami game, the last game of the year, we had just lost to Penn State, and there was a lot of talk about the Heisman now because we were out of the national championship race, internally anyway. And one of my friends came up to me and said something to me that made a lot of sense. He said, dude, you're going to win the Heisman because no one is in their right mind is going to vote you worse than second. So Gaston Green and all these guys on the West Coast may win first, or, Gordy Lockbaum and Don McPherson may win first on the East over there, but everybody has to vote you second. And you're going to win this thing on second place votes. And I thought about that for a minute. I was like, man, that makes sense. And then I had to snap out of it because, I didn't want to be thinking about that too much. But, it was a very interesting season. I don't think the season could have gone any better for me because the team winning thing was the most important thing for me. So my focus for most of the year was on that.
Awesome. I wanted to talk a little before I pass you on to my co-host about your days with the Raider Nation. Obviously, during your time, you were a big part of their success, and you got to do a lot of great things. But one year in particular, your most successful year as a team was the year, your years with Jerry Rice. You guys went to a Super Bowl together. What was it like for you to be around Jerry? It's that guy that there's no argument that when people talk about the greatest wide receiver of all time, that's the name that pops up. So what was it like for you to be around him on a daily basis, just play with him and be on the opposite side of him on the field?
Well, it was great for me because I had never had, in my 10-year reign with the Raiders, so to speak, I had never had a guy like that on the other side of the ball. I really had never had anybody who was somebody that, people would pay attention to. So having him, and having people put their eyeballs on him for a couple of plays a game was just magnificent for me. It just, put me in a situation where I can just go and do what I need to do on the field. But, Jerry is, once he hits the football field, he is the consummate pro. He is a guy that works his butt off and runs every play out. If there are cameras out there, if the media is out there, he's going to run faster and harder there because he wants everybody to see that. But he was a great influence on everyone on the team, and certainly it was because of him and his play that we were able to, make it to the Super Bowl. So, but it was great for me because the thing about Jerry that I loved, people didn't think we can play together. I don't know why, but that's what they thought. But Jerry and I were totally different players. Jerry was a guy who loved to stay on the outside and run those routes out there, and I like to get in the middle and mix it up with the big guys in there, with the linebackers and the safeties. So from that standpoint, it worked out great. He loved to do what he wanted to do, and they allowed me to do what I needed to do, and so we had the best of relationships on and off the field.
And during your last year at Oakland, you became a free agent. You did a little run with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. After all your time in Oakland, was it a weird change in scenery for you to go to Tampa, or was it more of just a business standpoint?
No, it was very weird simply because I didn't expect that to happen. I had spoken with the Raiders in late June and with Mr. Davis in particular, and I asked him, and told him, he had asked me what my plans were for the future, and I told him, I said, obviously I want to play this year, and I'm thinking this may be my last year in the league, and so I told him about my plan with Jerry Porter, the guy who was backing me up and the whole deal. So I thought that we had a nice little thing set together that we had put together, but I realized that there was going to be a problem. 2 days before training camp, he called me up and said, I need to talk to you. And I told my wife, okay, stop packing, because he has, in 16 previous years, he had never called me 2 days before training camp. So that gave me a little heads up that something was going to happen. But I didn't really think that they were looking to release me. I thought they wanted to go into the season with Jerry Porter being the number one guy. So I was a little shocked that, their plan was for me not to be there simply because it felt like it would give Jerry more reign Jerry Porter, that is, more rain to do what he needed to do. But I didn't agree with that, but obviously I wasn't making that decision. So at that particular point, after that, it certainly becomes a business decision to go to Tampa, because I was in such a shocked mindset that if I would have came home, I think I would have been a wreck. So thankfully I had Gruden and Bruce Allen, and, at that time there were 5 or 6 ex-Raider players down in Tampa. So it felt like home away from home a little bit, and gave me a year to relax and really get my mind ready to get out the game, and that's what happened.
And that actually leads to my last story before I have my co-host Steve take over. My last question is actually in regards to Coach Gruden, because we always, obviously he's on Monday Night Football every week. He's got a big, outlandish, wild personality. Do you have any great stories you can tell us about your time with Coach Gruden?
He was just phenomenal for me, man. I don't have any outlandish stories about this guy for sure, but, for me, he is the reason why, I'm up for the Hall of Fame right now, because if not for him, my numbers would have been good numbers, but they certainly wouldn't have been great numbers, especially my touchdowns. So I'm forever grateful for any time and anything that, I can do for him, or anything I can say. I always try and say something positive, because he's, the 4 years I had with him just really changed the way people look at me, even now. So, but great guy. We called him Chucky back in the day because he was a little wild man. But told him that little frown or whatever he puts on his face is going to end up staying if he keeps doing it too much. But he's a little short guy, so he likes to walk around on his tiptoes and all that kind of stuff. But man, what a fantastic coach he is, and he was, and hopefully one day he'll be back on the sidelines.
I hope so too. Well, thanks again for answering my questions, Tim. We'll go ahead and pass to my co-host Steve.
Okay.
All right. Reminding our listeners, everyone, we're Tim Brown, 1987 Heisman Trophy winner, over 1,000 catches in the NFL. You mentioned, talking about being up for the Hall of Fame. How is your mindset going with that? Is it something you try not to think about, or is it something that you're really excited to? Because I think that fans of yours and people who watch you play, they want to believe that it's not if but when you go to the NFL into Canton.
Yeah, it's a situation, man, where everybody's saying it's going to happen, but, I certainly wish it would happen sooner than later, that's for sure. But at the same time, there's nothing you could do about it. You just got to be, keep being the person that you are, and when these folks decide to make it happen, they'll make it happen.
Yeah, I think we're all definitely very excited for that point, and you actually were recently inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame, which is in South Bend. And I wanted to ask you, you're a youngster, you're in Dallas. You mentioned your teams weren't that great, but you were a star getting recruited by a lot of the Midwestern powers. When you came to Notre Dame, do you remember what it was that made you want to come there, wanted you to play in South Bend, and kind of the decision process there?
Well, January 20th, 1984 is the day I stepped on campus for my recruiting trip, and it was about 35 below. And there was about 4 feet of snow on the football field for sure. And I can remember them walking me out there, and they had my name up on the board, "Welcome Dallas site, Tim Brown." And I can remember telling my host after being there for about an hour and a half, "I'm coming. This is where I'm going to come." But I love cold weather. I didn't know it would be that cold every day. They didn't tell me that for 5 months, but. I think for me, the education part of what Notre Dame offers was just exactly what my family was looking for, and could have gone a lot of places and played on better football teams initially, I think, but that's not what it was all about. It was all about the education and what this place could do for you after you were done, and I had no intentions on playing in the NFL. That's not why I went to the University of Notre Dame. I went there to help me in my life, and just so happened to help me on the football field also.
Yeah, so one of my next question was, and by the way, I'm amazed by how many of our former guests have said something similar around the first time they're on campus. They had that feeling. I wanted to ask you what the feeling was like when you came back for the first time after graduation. I don't know if you got to catch any games during your career, but the first time back in South Bend after you graduated.
I'm sorry, bro. Could you repeat that? I didn't hear that question.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the feelings like for you the first time you went back to South Bend after you graduated, maybe for a game or just being on campus?
Well, I didn't get a chance to go back for a game until 2005, if you can believe that, because during my career, I didn't have, South Bend is not the easiest place to get to. And if a home game didn't time up with my bye weekend, then it was just going to be impossible to get done. So the first game I came back was the Bush Push game. Was unfortunately the first game I came back for. So I came back on campus one other time, or maybe twice, for some business. But and I really regret that I didn't go back more often, at least once every off season, because the place changed so much. In between '87 and '05. That sometimes it was hard for me to figure out where I was on campus, and I didn't like that feeling. A place I had spent 4 years, and four the best years of your life, really, and I had no memory of where I was, in certain spots, and I had to be directed, so that wasn't cool. But at the same time, I think that to be back for that game and to be on the football field, especially for such a big game like that, was an incredible feeling.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I love hearing the players talk about the changes, and Oscar McBride said something similar. He didn't get to come back for almost 15 years.
Right.
My next question, kind of leading, after your sophomore year, that's when Lou Holtz came in, and your first year with Lou Holtz was your junior season. What can you tell us about that coaching change and what he kind of brought to the table as a head coach that maybe hadn't been there before?
Well, what I said about Gruden almost triples with Coach Holtz. I mean, for me, he is the reason why I won the Heisman Trophy, and I tell everybody that. Anyone who asks me, how I won the Heisman Trophy, I said it's because of Lou Holtz. Now he'll tell you, well, if anybody, you were a diamond in the rough, and you just need to be rubbed off or smoothed up a little bit. But after 2 days of practice in pads, when he got there, after going through winter practice or whatever. We got in pads. After 2 days, he came to me and told me he thought I could be the best player in the country. And initially, I thought he was just blowing smoke, trying to get some guys on his side, being the new coach. But he kept telling me that every day. And after about 2 weeks, I started to believe that I could be the best player in the country. So everything I did, man, when I tied my shoes like the best player in the country would tie his shoes, When I walked out the locker room, I had my chest up, When I spoke to the guys, everything about me, as far as football goes, I was trying to do it like I was going to be the best player in the country. And we didn't verbalize that to other folks. I mean, that was just something that we talked about with ourselves, amongst ourselves. And, it's amazing how, after a while, you have that confidence in yourself to go out and make things happen. And, you do it in practice, but then all of a sudden the first game of the year comes and you're making the plays in the game, and then it's over after that. Now you really feel as if you're Superman and you can do anything on the football field. And it was all because of, Lou Holtz telling me that, he thought that I could be the best player in the country.
Well, he was right. I'll remind the listeners at home, Tim Brown was the first predominant wide receiver to win the Heisman Trophy back in 1987. So you had this amazing year. One of the things Oscar McBride also mentioned with Lou Holtz was kind of the Holtz effect on him after his playing career and after his life, and he caught himself saying things that Coach Holtz had used to say to him. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
I really can't say that. I'm always, when it comes to Lou Holtz, man, I just bow down to him every time I see him. I just think he, because I just wonder where I'd be sometimes if not for him. Or there's no doubt that I would not have won the Heisman Trophy. I don't believe, and certainly I don't think I would have been the first round pick. So, and my love for football was very strong, but my love for life and doing other things was even stronger at that time. And I think without him, I just would have just said, you know what, it's all good, and I probably would just went by the wayside and just came on home and started working and started my family and did those things. But so I may not do those other things, but I keep him in very, very high regard.
Well, I wanted to ask one question about the Raiders. I'm actually from California. I grew up in SoCal. I have a lot of friends that are fans. This is the main question they wanted to ask you. Coming into the next year, new kind of new quarterback with Carson Palmer, half a season, but a full off season. New GM, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, and also Al Davis' son taking over. Do you think they have what it takes in the near future to make a playoff run, or possibly, maybe build on getting to another Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, this year smacks of a rebuild. Obviously, when you have so much going on with new coaches here, new coaches there, all this new stuff going on, it smacks of a rebuild. But last year they were able to come out and do some great things. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. That's for sure, because I think that you have some veteran football players now, especially if you have a veteran quarterback. Their whole key to the season is going to be what can they do with McFadden? Can they keep him healthy? And if they can keep him healthy, I'm telling you, this team is going to be a force to reckon with. That's for sure. But it's all about that at this point: keeping McFadden healthy and keeping the quarterback clean. The coaches and the GM. I've talked to Reggie McKenzie, and he is very excited, and he's willing to do whatever he needs to do to get this team back to the forefront. And the league is different than it used to be. When you used to talk about rebuild back in the day, that was a 3 to 4 year plan. Now, you can get things done very quickly because of free agency and just getting the right players in the right spot. So that's how it is, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, any Raiders fans listening at home, if Tim Brown says that Darren McFadden is a playmaker, I'm going to buy him as a playmaker, because there's nobody else to talk to would know no more than you.
And that just made Darren McFadden a first-round draft pick in Notre Dame Nation.
I know Jason wanted to talk to you right after me about a little bit of the charity work, but I did have a question. You tweeted out a link today, and it was to a recent radio interview. And, you kind of tackled a tough subject and something that you had brought up before, but you went a little bit deeper. So I wanted to see if you had any interest in talking about that, kind of the reason you didn't drink alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go so much into it, but, I had an incident with my father growing up that, he used to drink at that particular time, and, because of this incident, I just decided at age 13 that I would never drink. So, maybe it's a very good thing, sometimes, and I tell people this, God things happen to you, and you don't realize it's a God thing until later in life. But, because what happened to me 13, by the time I got to Notre Dame, I was just turning 18. I was 17, like 2 days before I got to camp. But there was a whole lot of beer flying around the University of Notre Dame campus. I can tell you all that. So I think because of my stance on alcohol, it just it kept me away from that. And I don't know how that would have affected me as a player, but I know I would have been a different person if I would have been somebody who was partaking in that kind of stuff. But it was a deal with my father that that lasted for 12 years. I mean, through all my years in college, our relationship was not what it was supposed to be, and through the Heisman Trophy and making a Pro Bowl a couple of times in the NFL. And finally, when I was 25, I put an end to it by just going to him and tell him I forgave him for what had happened. And thankfully, the last 20 years of his life, we were able to have an incredible relationship, and all those things were put behind us.
Well, thank you very much for talking about this. I'll remind the fans, you said a couple times you made the Pro Bowl 9 times during your NFL career. But I know it took a lot of courage to bring that up, and I think that what you're doing is helping a lot of people. And on that note, I really love talking with you and having you on. And I'm going to pass you on to Jason. He wants to talk to you a little bit about the charitable work that you do. But thank you so much, Tim Brown, a Notre Dame legend, and hope to have you back again sometime.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
Hey, Tim, Jason here. Just, again, thanks for being on the show. And, something that what we were founded on is giving back, and it's a huge part of what we do, and we know that it's something that you have a passion for. And, I've been reading a lot about 911 for kids, and you have the Tim Brown Mentor Mini Camp, and then you have the Tim Brown Charity Golf Tournament that also benefits 911 for kids. Tell us about that. It's a great cause, and I think people would really appreciate to be able to check that out.
Yeah, I've been working with these programs since '93 when Howie Long got ready to retire. He basically came in the locker room, stuck his finger in my chest, and had me shoved up in the locker, scared to death. But he said, "Hey kid, I'm getting ready to retire. You're going to take over for me, starting like next week." And the first program was like the following week. So Howie Long says it, you do it at that particular time for sure. So that's how I got involved in 911 for kids. And basically what we do is teach kids the proper use of 911. The state of California was losing so much money because of kids calling when the cat was up the tree and the water hydrant was on and all this kind of stuff. So we've been able to touch about 5 million kids over the last 18, 19 years. That's not obviously just in California, but all over the country. And it's a program that's doing very well. The Tim Brown Mentoring Minicamp is really my baby. It's the one that I love because we get about 125 to 150 fatherless boys together every year for a couple, 3 or 4 days, and we get a chance to, rub them on the back of the head and tell them somebody cares, and we try and match them up with a mentee that can, lives in the community, that can be around them and encourage them, and that's my feel-good project for sure there, and, if I can do that all over the country, I would certainly, try and get that done, and we've been doing that one for about 18 years, so when I retired, what I decided to do, really, it sort of came at me more than me deciding to do it. I was approached by a couple of nonprofits about helping them with their fundraising because they were having some issues. You got youth sports out there that are fundraising by selling cookies and candy, and with the child obesity problem, it was only escalating that issue. So we ended up going to Visa, and thankfully there's a Notre Dame grad there, Bill Sheedy, and I spoke with Bill about what we were trying to accomplish, and he agreed. So we have a program now called the Smart Giving Card, and with this program, you can have a reloadable Visa card, and every time you use the card, Visa donates a portion of the transaction back to a nonprofit as a fundraiser. So it's an incredible program, and we're starting to spread it all over the country. The fees are extremely low, so we're not getting into that deal where we're have egregious fees for the customer or for the holder of the card. So we're now doing payroll cards where companies who want to support the nonprofit can have their employees to use the card as a payroll card, and every time the employees swipe the card, Visa donate a portion back to the company, and the company can donate the money to a nonprofit. So that's my life right now, brothers, giving back, and I'm trying to help nonprofits as much as I possibly can do the right thing. And we call our program Giving Within Your Living. We don't ask you to go out and buy anything. Just use it for gas and groceries and maybe a utility bill, and just by doing that, you're going to support the nonprofit of your choice, a church or whatever it may be. And so it's an incredible deal. I'm trying to get these Notre Dame folks and the Alumni Association to get it going with our people so we can raise some money. And I know we do a great job already, but this would be a way of doing it without having anybody write a check. You just do what you normally do with the card with gas and groceries and utility bills, and by doing that, you're going to be donating money back to our great university every month. So that website is www.smartgivingcards, SmartGivingCards.com. Check it out, and if anybody want to get hold of me about it, you can certainly do that.
Yeah, excellent. That's the like I said, that's what we were founded on, is the giving back, and everybody we talk to that Notre Dame alumni, everybody has something going on, and it's just it's awesome to know that anybody we talk to is always out in the community and doing great things for their community or even across the country. So it's a blessing to have guys like you and everybody else on the show and talk about that, and we like to showcase that. So we want to give you that chance, and again, on behalf of everybody, it's a pleasure talking to you, and in fact, it's an honor to have you here. So we appreciate your time, Tim.
No problem. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you so much, Tim.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.
Take it easy, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.